Hi guys, welcome back again to another sewing tutorial on this channel. If you're stopping for the first time, you're welcome guys. In today's video, we'll be learning how to make a 3D wirework embellishment, basically for custom dresses. If this is what you're interested in learning, watch the video to the end. Guys, let's get started. Okay guys, to achieve this embellishment structure on the thumbnail, I'll be listing a few things or a few items we'll be needing. I'll be making use of the organdy fabric. I'll also be using my hemming gum, the invincible thread, the B6000 glue. I have my drafting pencil, my scissors. I also have my beads, tailor's chalk, the measuring tape, and every item you can see on the table. And then most importantly, the copper wire. Guys, this copper wire, I will advise that if you're doing a bolder applique, you can use 90 mm. So I'm working with 70 mm. Guys, okay, so we're drafting the pattern. I have my pattern paper on my work table, so I'll be using my meter rule to measure at about 8 inches length. This is the length of the leaf embellishment. So just want to draft the pattern. So go ahead and draft any pattern of your choice. Just draw a leaf and just be creative about it. So for the width of the leaf, I'll be working with 2.5 inches, the length 8 inches. Then I'll go ahead and draw a curve. Your curve can be wavy or smooth. Okay, so I'm doing a smooth curve. But if you look at the thumbnail, you see that she used a wavy curve. So it depends on what you want. You can choose a wavy curve or a smooth one like the one I'm doing. Okay, so I also went ahead to draft another longer pattern, which is 9 inches. This is 9 inches. The previous one I drafted was 8 inches, and this particular one is 9 inches. I'm also utilizing the same width, which is about 2.5 inches, and I'm also using the same smooth pattern to draw this out. After drafting it out, I'll use my scissors to cut out the excess pattern paper on the work table, and then we're left behind with our leaf pattern. Okay, so this is the leaf pattern for the 9 inches. I'll go ahead and trim out the excess pattern on the 8 inches. So we have two, one is 8 and then one is 9 inches. Okay guys, the next thing I'll simply do is to secure the pattern on my fabric, the organdy fabric. I'll be doing this with my pins. I'll just use my pins to secure it properly. Okay, so after I'm done, I'll go ahead and use my chalk to highlight this pattern on the fabric. Okay, I hope you can see it at this point. So at this point, I think I'm still securing the fabric, the pattern to the fabric with my pins. Now that I'm done, I went ahead to use my chalk to highlight it. Okay, just highlight the pattern. So this is the 8 inches, which is the smaller leaf pattern. I'll highlight with my chalk, and then I'll move over to the other one, which is about 9 inches. Okay, so I'll just use my chalk and also highlight the other one. Okay. Okay guys, so after I was done highlighting, the next thing I'll do is to flip my fabric to the other side. Okay, I'll flip it to the other side. As you can see, I'll just flip it onto the other side. Most of the times I like to speed up my pattern, but I have a lot of people. I had some persons say try and be slow while explaining. Okay, so I'm going to try my best and take it one step at a time, and then at least reduce the speed of the tutorial. So at this point, I'm trying to trim out the excess fabric. The fabric was just too big, so at least I can have control of the pattern I'm working with. Okay, so I'm cutting out another portion of the organdy fabric that we use to overlay the other pattern. Okay, to overlay this side, because we've drafted on one side. I still need another fabric to overlay. Okay, so I turned the back and I still use my chalk to highlight the pattern because it could still reflect on the other side. After highlighting, you can see that I also drew the vein, the mid vein. Is it called the mid vein or the mid rib of the leaf? Okay, so I'll draw the mid leaf of the leaf. That is where I'll place my copper wire, the 70 mm. And like I mentioned earlier, that for the bolder your leaf embellishment, the more stable your copper wire is meant to be. Okay, if it's small, use a smaller copper wire, small copper wire in diameter. If it's big, if it's a bolder um leaf embellishment that you're doing, use a more stable copper wire that can withhold the strength of that size. Okay, so for this size I'm working with 70 mm, of which I feel that 90 mm would have given me a better strength. Okay, but this is a tutorial, it's just to show you guys how this thing is being done, which is DIY, do it yourself. So I went ahead, I took my measurement, and this particular copper wire was just okay for this length I have here. So I'll go ahead and use my gum, my B6000 glue. I'll use the B6000 glue on the copper wire, and then I'll go ahead and secure it on the mid rib that I drafted. You can see that mid straight line that I drafted. I'll go ahead and place it on it. Okay, so this is my B6000 glue that I bought. I don't know, the nozzle is just somehow, it's not bringing out the gum as I expected. It's just difficult. I'm finding it very difficult to squeeze out the gum, but along the line I shall try it and brought out some portions from it. Okay, so it took a lot of time trying to apply so much pressure, unlike some the other ones I usually buy, that when I apply pressure, at least not so much, it will just come out. But this one was just giving me so much, you know, just walking on my nerves, just stepping on my toes, or how is it being put, it was just getting me all worked up. So by the end of the day I was able to squeeze out some portions of the glue on it, and then I'll go ahead and secure it on the fabric, as you can see me doing. Okay, so I'll do for this part, and then I'll go ahead and do for the other side as well. Okay guys, okay, so I'm done with this other side. We'll just simply proceed to the next step. What I'll simply do next is to use my hemming gum. I will just place my hemming gum on the leaf. Okay, then I'll go ahead and overlay it with the other organdy fabric that I cut out. So guys, at this point, to increase the stability before using your steam iron, I would advise that you can also use a mesh in between this fabric, in between this organdy fabric, before you place your hemming gum. You can use a mesh to like increase the stability of the leaf. Okay, so after I was done overlaying it with my hemming gum, you can see I have two layers here. I had to show you guys by flipping it. I'm using a tighter stitch. Okay, there's a loose stitch, there's a mid loose, and there's a very tight stitch. So I'll go ahead and use the tight stitch and run it round it. You can see that the leaf pattern is still on the fabric. I didn't detach it. I wanted it to act as a guide for me. So I'll go ahead and run my stitch round the leaf pattern. Okay, and then at this point I was trying to show you guys what the pattern looks like. Okay, so before doing that, after cutting out, you can use a hot scissors to trim out the excess fabric, or if you don't want to, use a hot scissors like me, I don't like placing my scissors on stove, you just go ahead and use a candle to to secure the edges so that you won't see fabric coming out of the edges. Okay, so you can use a candle to like burn round the leaf pattern, okay, of the fabric, or use a hot scissors. So the next thing I did was to use my tailor's chalk to draw out the veins on the leaf of both the big and the smaller one. Then I went ahead to use my gum. I'm going to be doing the one of the cup chain. I have two patterns. I have the one of cup chain and the one of bead. So let's start with the cup chain. So I went ahead to place my gum. At this point, this gum was just getting on my nerves. I just had to cut out the end of the gum to use the bottom part, which is not advisable to make your work look messy. So I advise that you just get a good gum that has good nozzle. Okay, so I went ahead to place my gum round first, and then I air dried it a little bit, and then I went ahead to place my cup chain. Okay, so this is the cup chain embellishment. It's also good and beautiful, but if it's affordable for your client, she can also do the bead. Bead seems to be more expensive than the cup chain. Cup chain is very affordable, so it depends on what your client wants. If he wants cup chain gives this rigidity, it gives this firmness more than bead, because beading you have to use invincible thread, but cup chain, even the gum adds its own stability to the leaf itself. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, if you want a more stable leaf, use a mesh in between the fabric before stitching and then trimming out. So guys, at this point I was just placing my following the drafted pattern on the leaf, and then cutting out the cup chain and then placing it on the gum. I'll put the gum, allow it to dry a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and place my cup chain on it. So guys, I'll keep doing this till I go round, get to the end of it. But at some point, while I was done with the second part, the last part, the chain wasn't just enough. It just covered some parts. So just get enough chain. If you're doing yours, get enough chain. It's better to have more than to have less. Okay, if you have more, you can reserve it for some other person, but if you have less, it might affect your job. So after placing this other one and cutting it out, I just had a little portion. I had to manage it for both sides. I just divided it into two equal parts, and then I simply placed it on the leaf. Okay, so guys, like I mentioned earlier, that using your gum this way is not advisable. Please don't mind the fact that I had to open the bottom part. Okay, try and use the actual nozzle. It kind of makes the work, gives you this neat work, because it comes out moderately. It doesn't outpour itself, just pour more than excess. If you use the bottom part like this, it might pour more than excess unless you have some kind of control over it. So we're done with the cup chain, and you can see how it's looking. In fact, the cup chain is beautiful compared to the bead. They are both good, but depends on the quality of embellishment that you want. Cup chain has this brighter effect that makes you gives you this attractive look. Okay, so I'll proceed to the next one, which is the one for the bead. I'll go ahead and use my invincible thread. I will just line it, pass it through my needle, knot it, and then use it to bead following the pattern. Okay, when you're beading, you collect in portions and then insert. You can see that I collect in portions of 4 or 5. The bead is still on the fishing line. I don't pour mine into a cup. It's easier for me this way. So I will just, while it's still on the line, I'll just collect in portions of 4 or 5. I will insert it. It takes a lot of time. This one is so time consuming. It needs a lot of patience to achieve this, but the result is worth it. It gives this rich vibe. It adds this rich quality to your custom dress. Okay, so gradually you exercise patience, and then you keep beading till you exhaust the veins that you drafted, or the lines you drafted on the leaf. So I'll continue doing this till I get to the end, and I'm going to be showing you guys the results when I'm done. Okay. Okay guys, so if you have watched to this point, thank you so much. This is the result, the final result of our embellishment. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in my next video, guys. God bless you.